Great, here we are. We are going to look at adding checkpoints today. And so I'm going to open up my Gdevelop where I left off last time. And let's see this one here, number 6, I guess. And we're going to look at loading a new object called a checkpoint, working with some scene variables. So I want to add a variable for a global variable. And then I also want to make it so when you hit the checkpoint, if we die, it'll go back to that last checkpoint. And so what this allows us to do is make the game gradually get more and more challenging without the worry that, oh, darn, you got to start from scratch again. You get to start from your checkpoint. Really is an important thing. So I'm going to start with my level 1. And this level 1 is just a demo. Hopefully you've done much, much more than I have. But as you know, this is just a demo here. So first things first, we need to add a new object. So we click on the plus over here where objects are, and I select a new sprite object. And I'm going to call this object object checkpoint, or I'll just call it checkpoint. Okay, and then what I need to do is I need to add some graphics. So let's look and see what we have for graphics. Again, not as much because I'm using the online version, so I'm really stuck with what I have, and this one doesn't have flags. So I'm going to have to just make something up, and that's why I really prefer to do the downloaded one, but of course not everyone can download the downloaded one. So I'm going to start with it being a plant, and then once it's checked, it's going to turn into a cactus. So here we have as a plant, and then I'm going to add for animate. So animation 0, I'm going to use my checkpoint being a small plant, and then once I've hit the plant, I'm going to make the plant grow into a big cactus. So I'm going to add the big cactus because again, with my limited graphics, I've got to make it work best I can. So this means I've already hit the checkpoint, and this means the checkpoint is ready to be triggered. Okay, its behaviors is just a basic checkpoint, nothing special in there. Okay, so we're done, and I'll just hit apply. And I now have my checkpoint. So one of the first things I need to do is let's go to the game events. And in the game events, for organizational reasons, I'm going to make a group. And so I'm going to add a group, and I'll call the group checkpoints. So when I hit a checkpoint and all the actions to do with the checkpoint, this will be a good place to put it into. Great. Now I need to make it so when the player hits the checkpoint. So I need to add an event and an action. So let's add a new empty event underneath checkpoint. So there's checkpoint, and then I'm going to go up here and add a new event, and going to come under checkpoint, so I just pull it to indent, and the condition is going to be a simple collision. So if I collide with the checkpoint, so I'll look for a collision, common collision between the player and the checkpoint, which is the little shrub. Okay, so if I hit a checkpoint, what do I want to have happen? Well, what I want to have happen is I want to set my global scene variable checkpoint X and checkpoint Y to be the checkpoint values of what I have. And so what I want to do is the action is going to be variables, value of a scene variable, and the variable is going to be called checkpoint X. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign it. So I'm going to set that variable I just made, checkpoint X, and I'm going to assign it to my current checkpoint, which is the name of the object, checkpoint, and then dot and its value, its point, which is X. So the X coordinate. So checkpoint X is going to be the value of checkpoint X. And then I'm going to say, okay. I also want to do the same thing. So we're going to do it again. And I could duplicate it. Oops. I'm still getting used to the best way to duplicate it. This time, the variable is checkpoint Y, and I want to set it to the value of the object checkpoint and its Y position. You'll see there it is listed. So that's just a quick way to do it. Or you could go back and do it just the way I did before by selecting add event and so forth. So now that we've got that, when the player collides with the checkpoint, what is going to happen is the X and Y values of that checkpoint are going to now be stored in our global variable called checkpoint X and checkpoint Y. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to take a look at the collision event with the enemy. And so let's open that one up. And you'll notice when we collided with the enemy, the player would die. We had delete player. I no longer want to just delete the player. Rather, what I want to do is I want to reset the room so that the player moves and goes back to where he started. And eventually what I want to do is have a variable for players. So he's got maybe 5 players, and then after your 5th player, the game is over. But for now, let's just get the checkpoints working. So I'm going to not have it just remove a player. So I'm going to delete this. I'm going to remove it. So I'll right click and select delete. And now the action I want to do here is I want to change the position of the player. So I'm going to look for change the position. And that is position of an object. And so it's player, the object is player. And I'm going to set it equal to the X position. So where do I want the X position? And what I want it to be is my variable checkpoint X that we made. And the Y position, I'm going to set that one equal to as well. And don't forget, you need to have the capitals and everything match exactly right. So I need to use variable with a capital of variable. And then in parentheses, I need to put the scene variable. And the scene variable, I called it checkpoint Y. I hope I called it checkpoint Y. We'll double check to see if it worked. Now, there's going to be one slight problem with this. Let me press OK, and let's test it out and see what happens. So when I press play here, my player is going to hopefully oh, I didn't add the, I didn't actually put a checkpoint in here. So I've got an enemy, but I don't have a checkpoint. And I might put the checkpoint up at the top here. So you can see it over here by the coin. So we'll really see that when the room restarts that I end up over here by the coin. So let's do that. So I'm going to go to my game and I'm going to select my checkpoint and I'm going to put my checkpoint maybe just up here. There we go. Voila. So I've got a checkpoint here. So when I die, instead of just being gone, I should end up being up here. So let's see if that works. So here we are. So I haven't hit the checkpoint yet. Great. I've now triggered the checkpoint. I hit the checkpoint, and when I die, voila, I end up exactly where I think I should be. Now, one of the problems, this one worked fine, but sometimes you might find that you're stuck inside of, when I first did it, I was stuck inside of the level. So if this isn't quite at the right spot, you might end up getting stuck. And so I'm going to show you one of the things to fix that. So what I want to do is I want to change the Y position. And so let's go to what we had here. So player is set to X is perfect, but the Y, I'm going to say go to that Y position, but let's subtract the player dot height. And parentheses. So what this is going to do, it's going to subtract the height of the player. So if the player had a specific height, doesn't matter how big yours is or whatever, if you expanded it or contracted it, it won't get accidentally wedged inside something. It'll come up a little bit higher and it may drop slightly. The last thing I want to do is just to trigger the flag. So let's go back to the flag, the checkpoint that we had built. And what I want to do is change this, that not only do I want to change the X and Y coordinate, but I also want to change the animation. So sprite, animation, change the animation. And I want to be the checkpoint. And instead of being, I want to set it to being 1. So now it's going to use checkpoint number 1. And so if we take a look at my sprite real quick here, here's my checkpoint, and I just want to show you why I did that. I'm always getting in the way here. I'm going to edit the object, and you'll see there's animation 0, and now it's going to be animation 1. And so what should happen is as we hit the checkpoint, when we die, it's the little cactus will be big, so we know we hit it. Now, ideally, you'd have a flag, and you could have the flag sort of down or change from red to green when you hit the flag. And also a sound effect we might look at adding too. So both those would be good additions to make the game much more arcade-like. But let's just take a look at what we have here. And now you'll see I hit it and it turns into a big cactus. And of course, when I die accidentally, you'll see, there you go. We are back here rather than being back at here. One last thing, you'll notice if I kill the enemy, great. Nothing, nothing happened. We killed the enemy. Great. So that is adding checkpoints. And, I would add multiple checkpoints. The last thing I would probably do if I was working on this, and I will do it right now, is let me add, this room is way too small, but let me add another checkpoint. Maybe I'll put one over here. And you can have multiple checkpoints. It will go to whatever the latest checkpoint is. So if I can go all the way over here, let's see if I can go all the way over here, it will then move to this point. I won't demo it because this video is already long enough, but this is the next step, is checkpoints to your game.